get this show on the road. Okay. Come on, YouTube. Give me the good stuff. We've got a poll going on here. How's your weekend coming along, people? How's it going? How has it been? Can you keep it a little low? Thank you. Okay, hang on. Commercials. All right. And yes, yes. It's the Nazarite bringing you Hebrew lore from days of yore. Wow, what a Shabbos this has been. I have a lovely cup of tea with me. Wait, hang on, let's get this a bit further away. All right, should be good. How are you people? How you doing? How are you doing? Okay, so Robert Harrison is here. Philonetic is here. Was there someone else? Just you two for now? All right, good. One like, one person here. Hi, 3 people. Hello. No way, after Shabbat stream. Yeah, I'm making it happen. It's fun. It's fun to live stream. I hope that you people are not, too fed up with me. I try to keep it, I try to keep it interesting, I suppose, with the questions that come in, even though many of them are repetitive. Can you sing us a Shabbat song? Well, right now, a few of the people, half of the family is asleep, so no, I can't right now, but I will at some point. I think I did. At some point I did. What was it on the old channel or maybe this current channel? There was somebody requested that, and I did sing a Shabbos hymn. Incidentally, it's one that from my grandfather, may he rest in peace, on my father's side, my father's father. He had his own tune. I think he came up with it. I have never heard it done by anyone else. No other circumstances have I ever heard that tune, that melody. So if I'm not mistaken, he came up with it, or either that or it's really, really not well known and uncommon. Let's call idiots interesting people, says Philonetic. Ready to deal with all the interesting people today? Yes, I am. Are you? Hey, Batty is here. My father is here. Shavua Tov. Good Voch. Hey, Batshai, how you doing? Chaim in Florida, Gitvoch, indeed, a good week, a good new week. Greetings, Burning 47. Burning 47, I addressed your comment, even though there are specific dictionary definitions, right? You brought, I think, Merriam-Webster. Depending on the dictionary, the definition might change a bit. But yes, even though there are technical definitions, dictionary definitions to terms and words, it's still good to have an open discussion, right? This is an exchange of ideas, right? That's pretty much the reply that I left on your comment. Just because somebody doesn't subscribe to a particular dictionary definition doesn't make it not fertile ground for discussion. You see what I'm saying? I came across you a couple of weeks ago and loved the content. Thanks, Mutum. I appreciate it. How's your weekend coming along? Where are you at in the world? Is it day? Is it night? I have a cup of chai, and I will be taking out the tea bag. Ooh, still too hot, but I'm just going to hold it a bit. Oh, I love it. I love the cinnamon and cloves. Hey, Mr. Z is here. Did you see the last song recommendation? Yes, I did, but because I haven't heard it yet, I didn't listen to it yet, that is, so I didn't like or heart your comment or reply, but I do know the artist in question, and I don't know that song, so I think I'm in for a good ride. Can you SG? Can I SG, Rob? I don't know what you mean. Bro, stop reporting live from Vallejo, California. Oh, sup. I thought I said stop. Reporting live from Vallejo, California. Hey, JP. Hello. What does the word Vallejo mean? I'm curious. Now, there were dozens or close to like 100, I don't know how many comments that came in. I turned on my phone after Shabbos, just about an hour and a half ago, and it was a lot. It was a lot, and I've been getting through them, and it's lovely, really lovely. Let's read a few. This just came in the last few minutes. Ratio 404 says, not sure about that. Wisdom doesn't require knowledge. It requires knowing. Knowledge is static. Knowing is alive. Constantly moving and changing, and what is being perceived, right? So there's knowing and there's knowledge, not the same thing. There is something to that, I suppose. But you could say that knowledge is something that is always progressing, right? Knowledge is the liquid thing. Knowing is being aware of that knowledge, or being, having that imparted on you. And what is being perceived? What is being perceived is indeed, I think, what makes the most difference here. Angel Love Yeshua said, no evil book about government from me. Not sure what, well, he was replying to a different comment, but okay. Metanoi or metanoia? Check it out. Metanoi or metanoia? Without checking it out right here live, do you people know what metanoi or metanoia is? I'm curious. How many scoops of sugar do you put in your coffee? I do at least 4. I don't put sugar in my coffee or my tea. I haven't done it in years. Bro says, can you share your views? Can you share views on celibacy and infidelity? Celibacy, let's put it this way. The New York Nazarite, Aleph Aleph, if you're into Kabbalah and the Nazarite ship, definitely check him out on YouTube, Aleph Aleph. He is a celibate Nazarite, and he is of the opinion that we should be celibate, and the Nazarite, by definition, should be celibate. I disagree with him, but I understand more the Moses approach, let's say, where you do the regular thing, you have the wife, you have the kids, the family, and all that, but then you disengage when you are called to disengage. And so you can call it partial celibacy, because when you do make the celibacy thing in part of your life, you're celibate until the grave. Up until that time, you are not celibate. And that way you have your cake and eat it too, so to speak, where you have the time when you have the wife and kids and perform those commandments, and then you disengage if you are called to disengage from that life. As for infidelity, different couples or partners or relationships have their own view of infidelity. But if you mean like the classic traditional form of engaging in sexual relations while you're still in the bonds of marriage, I am not a fan. I think that if you're not going to be loyal to your partner, I mean, obviously it goes on a case-by-case basis, but more often than not, I would say break it off. And even though it's very easy to say, oh, just dump him or her and get divorced, if you're really thinking about infidelity, if you're truly thinking about going outside of the marriage, open marriages notwithstanding, I'm saying it might at that point be better to get divorced. Of course, therapy, counseling, whatever route you want to go, try to make it work, right? Be a rabbi, a pastor, whatever the case may be, a good friend, I don't know, who knows you both. But sometimes infidelity is something that, the Torah says not to do it. But regardless, if you're loyal to your partner and you think that you won't be, then I think at that point it's no good and you need to get divorced. Those are my shooting from the hip views. OMG, a Jew, says Black Cats. Yes, indeed. Oh, Pep to Pat send $100. That's so nice. I mean, I don't think he or she really did, but that's cool. It's all good. Why are you defending a genocide? Nope, not having that discussion right now. It's not a genocide, and let's leave it at that. So they're actually real. Yes, Black Cats, we are indeed real. Jews are all over the world. Are you Israel or America first? I'm Israel first if you're in Israel, America first if you're in America. It's pretty much what I think about it. Andromeda Minsk, and I'm sorry, not Andromeda. I made that error earlier as well last time. Oh no, it is Andromeda. Then it was somebody else that was Andro something, and I said Andromeda. Who for should a man seek counsel if not his wife? Says Stephen Kelly Belly. Who for should a man seek counsel if not his wife? Wherefore is why. Who for, I mean, with whom, I think that means, right? With whom should a man seek counsel if not his wife? Okay. You are their rabbi, so they seek your counsel. No, I'm not a rabbi, not even close to being a rabbi, nor do I want to be a rabbi. Have you ever read any of the Dead Sea Scrolls? Yes, I have, Mutum, a long time ago. I even took a look at them. Some of them or all of them were either temporarily or permanently at the Israel Museum or in that complex of museums where the Israel Museum is right here in Jerusalem. So I have seen the Dead Sea Scrolls or parts of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So yes, I have. Let's see. Hello, brother. How are you? Says Muy Grande. I'm doing pretty well. I'm having a nice, relaxing weekend. Thank God. Overall, it's been very relaxing. I got some good Torah study in. I got some good food in. I got some loving in. It was, with the family. It's good quality time. It's always nice. And, we were outside in the local park here, and my kid was all, people are out with their phones, and I turned to him and I go, what I say many times, which is, you may not think it now, kid, but in the future, trust me, a day without screens is a real blessing. A real blessing. Daily War is here. Hey man, it's me again. Hello. I went to a synagogue in Nola a few days ago, and I was told off. I just wanted to attend a meeting and listen to a preacher, I guess, but they wouldn't let me attend. Do you know why? No, without knowing the actual, technicalities and details of what synagogue it was and what meeting or person preaching, what they were preaching, I have no idea. I wouldn't know why. I really wouldn't know. Rabbi, I have a question for you. Sorry, Riz, I'm not a rabbi. I'm just a simple dumbass in the Middle East with a cup of tea and a phone. But feel free to ask a question and I will try to address it to the best of my non-rabbi ability. Bruce says, I genuinely hate how arrogant most Israelis are and how they treat other non-Jews. That being said, you're probably the most charismatic Zionist I've seen. Well, thanks for that, I suppose, but I also don't treat non-Jews as inferior or lower or any different than myself, really. I mean, there are times when obviously it will be more, certain things might come to pass where the differences between us will be more apparent. But generally, I'm a human, they're a human. We are all earthlings, made in the image of God. So that's pretty much it. Why would rebuilding a third temple, spark a war? I'm thinking that, look, by the time that the third temple is built, ideally, we would have come together as a people and as a region, and we will have justice and peace and prosperity, and that will, of its own accord, usher in that time if a third temple is to be built. Some say it will come down already built from the heavens. But it would spark a war in this day and age with this current climate, I think, because even if there are different Muslim nations who don't see Israel favorably, not all of them are actually practically attacking us right now. We have terrorist organizations that are attacking us, and in nations that are not fans of us, other nations we have peace accords with, right? Morocco, Bahrain, Jordan, Egypt, one or two others. But I think that if there's one thing that would rally the Muslim world against Israel would be the, let's say, demolishing of the Al-Aqsa and Al mosques of the compound there, and the rebuilding of a third Hebrew temple. I think that they would not take kindly to that, and maybe even the most moderate and liberal of Muslims would say, whoa, that's a no. It's our third holiest site, right? Mecca, Medina, Urushalim, Al-Quds, Jerusalem is third. And I don't think they would take kindly to that, which might spark a world war, because if all those nations do pick up arms and come to fight, it's going to be a major, major fight. That's why I think it could potentially start a war, if not built or constructed under the proper circumstances. But I am always of the opinion that the third temple will be a vegan temple, a house of love and prayer and worship for all creation, for all nations, for all peoples, which means that war will be a thing of the past at that point. That's what I'm thinking. Do you believe in rainbow flag? I'm not a fan of the flag, I suppose, but do I believe in the flag? I'm not sure what you mean. Hello, AA. You are my favorite YouTuber from Jerusalem, he or she says. Hey, thanks, I appreciate it. Do you follow many YouTubers in Jerusalem that I'm your favorite? How do you justify? Nope, not answering that right now. Okay. Drog. Hi, Drog. Good to see you. Have you been here before? I don't think so. I don't remember seeing your name. Either way, good to see you. You seem so likable, soft-spoken, and intellectual. I can't understand why you don't see the wrong things on Israel's side. I do see the wrong things on Israel's side, but it's not a genocide. It's a war. People die in a war, and there are individuals that are, carrying out different crimes. You can call them crimes against humanity, or hate crimes, or war crimes, or, senseless violence. Obviously, individuals are doing that. I don't think the government, the army, the establishment as such has a genocidal intent or agenda or practical carrying out of such a genocide. These things have a definition. Now, other people might define it differently. Fine, you can go with that. I'm not saying don't think it. I'm saying I don't think it. Nobody's taking that away from you. So I can be likable, soft-spoken, and intellectual, I suppose, without going with a single narrative. And I don't go with one single narrative, because any one of them would be false. Because they're trying to engineer the way I think. They're trying to affect the way that I view the world. So I take a few things into account before. It's a synthesis, right? It's not just a blind following of some sort of a party line. Bruce says, what are your thoughts about Jews worshiping Baal for such a long time, my friend? Well, the worship of Baal ceased at the time of the Second Temple, or worship of foreign deities and pagan gods at large ceased at the beginning to midpoint of the Second Temple era, so something like, 2,200 years ago or so? Now, some people do claim that Jews are worshiping foreign deities, Saturn and Baal and Molech and others, and I have never encountered it, not once in my life. The Torah certainly forbids us from worshiping pagan gods or from worshiping the Hebrew God in pagan ways, and I don't think that it is actually the case. Are there individual Jews still worshiping false deities? Likely. Are there individual Jews still worshiping Baal, Molech, the dark side of the force, the Sitra Achra? Yes, likely, but as a faith, as a religion, as a way, as a people, a congregation, a collective, no, that's not happening as far as I know. Thoughts on the Druze? Oh, wait, sorry, the chat just jumped. I don't know who said that. I don't know who said that. Sorry, but thoughts on the Druze. I've served with Druze in the IDF. I've mourned their dead in terrorist attacks and other such things. I think they are a stand-up people. I love the way that their religion is hidden in the sense that only the ones who are truly into it are privy, let's say, to these more sacred texts or the more hidden lore. I don't know how it goes, but as far as I know, some of their religion really is still secret. That is only those who are in the the more religious crowd, right? They're the ones who get the information. Were there any alcoholics in the Torah? Well, if you're talking about people who drank, yes, all the time. If you're talking about people who had the disease known as alcoholism, right? It's part of the DSM, isn't it? I don't know. I actually don't know. Likely some people, because the alcohol and the wine was much, much stronger in those ancient days. That's why they used to mix it with water. Greetings from Minnesota, USA, Earth, Milky Way, Galaxy. Larson says, hi, Larson. Happy Shabbos, a good weekend. I hope you're having a good weekend. Discount Ray says, hello, Yehudi. Shalom, shalom. Hello to you. It's good to see you here. Can you explain Kabbalah? Mitter says, Kabbalah is the lore of the tree of life. Kabbalah means to receive. Kabbalah is one of the external teachings of the oral traditions, right? Not part of the Torah, but certainly something that has to do with the Torah. Very famously, the book of the Zohar relates to each and every Torah portion and extrapolates in an esoteric way. Kabbalah is basically the study of the tree of life, the study of the 10 Sfirot, the ways in which God manifests in the world, and the relationships between them, the relationships to the human being made in the image of God. There's a more universal Kabbalah. There's a more Hebrew, practical, commandment-based Kabbalah that, with certain commandments, the way that you do them, how you breathe, and what you wear, and the names that you think of, the names you actually can speak. And all of Kabbalah basically is supposed to bring about that union of the divine masculine presence and the divine feminine presence. That is what we are here to do. That is what we are here to receive and to act, right? So Kabbalah, right, is to make yourself an empty vessel through which the energies and the knowledge and whatever it is, the divine revelation can flow. Let's continue. Why do Jews hate Jesus? Jack says. Well, I personally don't hate Jesus. I think some Jews hate Jesus because from Jesus spawned later on Christianity, right? The first followers were Jews. The people who established the first churches were Jews, if I'm not mistaken. And Christianity has been, at times, a thorn in the side of the Israelites, right, of our tribes. I think that's why people hate Jesus. I doubt that they would hate him if they came face to face with him, at least in the sense of how he's portrayed in the gospel, which I've only read once, but I enjoyed reading it. It really spoke to me. Not the divinity of Jesus, but simply the way that he was in the world, interacting with his brothers and sisters and others. It was really, really great to see that. So I think Jews hate Jesus not because of Jesus, but because of Christianity, which is not the same thing. Jesus lived and died a Hebrew man. Okay, let's continue. Tell us about the Song of Songs, Donovan says. Song of Songs is traditionally attributed to Solomon the king, right? Son of David, the last king before the kingdom split. And it's a Song of Songs. Rabbi Akiva, a Second Temple era sage, said that the world was not, let's put it this way, the world became that much greater and that much better and had henceforth not been the same, or from that point on was not the same, and until that point was not the same as on the day that the Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim, was revealed in the world. Shir HaShirim is basically a love story, right? And it has a practical meaning. It has an esoteric meaning. People consider it to be the holiest of holies, right? Rabbi Akiva says that all of the sacred texts are sacred, but Song of Songs is the sacred of the sacred, like the holiest of holies, Kodesh Kodashim. It's right? It's the story, it's the love story, right? Between creation and the divine revelation, or between Israel and their God, depending how you view it. And the way that it ends is the most interesting to me. There's a lot of lovely imagery there, a lot of allegory and metaphor and beautiful, beautiful poetry, right? Poetic language. And the end of it is, run away, my beloved, brach dodi. It ends on what's seemingly a down, right? Like a negative, or like a negative note, right? Like brach dodi, like flee, my beloved, or run away, or fly, right? My beloved. It's like sometimes you get the person you love, and even that is only for a time, which is why I say that it represents that unity, right, of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, right, a creation and creator of Israel and their God, because in the lower masculine and the lower feminine, in the higher masculine and feminine, Abba and Ima, mother and father, right, the great mother, the great father, there's an unending union. They are always in union. They are always united, right? They're constantly consummating. They are constantly together, inseparable, so to speak. And the lower masculine and feminine, right, represented here by the man and woman in human form, they are allowed for a time and they are apart for a time, right? The Torah very famously says that when a woman starts menstruating, basically for a week, if the blood does stop within a week, of course, it depends on the woman's cycle, but a week of being ritually impure, meaning you're not allowed to engage in sexual intercourse, and a lot of different things to do with ritual purity and ritual uncleanliness. This is not to be confused with physical uncleanliness, with actually being dirty. A lot of people like to conflate the two. No reason to conflate them whatsoever. It simply means that you are physically unable to perform certain ritual worship and things of that nature. So the Song of Songs ends, right, on being apart. And throughout the song, right, she is looking for her beloved, and they keep missing each other, and then they're apart, and then they're together, but then they grow apart again. It's this ebb and flow, right? And it has to do really with this world, even though it is the holiest of holies, and speaks of very high concepts of that love, right? That like a fire that no water can quench. And to end it on the seemingly a down note, right? Of fly, my beloved, brach dodi, right? Go be a, what is it? The Melech Tzvi, go be a, what is it? Oh, come on, tzvi. What is it? It's a, what's the word for tzvi? Oh, is it a ram? Yes, no, not a ram, whatever. It's the idea that the beloveds do not stay together. They eventually grow apart again to meet each other again. In that sense, it really does have to do with this world. You like Catholics, says Air Force Matt. I haven't met many Catholics. I like people. If they're Catholic, they're Catholic. That's it. Capybara, hi, good to see you again. Do you think Jesus was totally nuts like this? No wonder Pontius Pilate had him nailed to a cross. I don't know. I don't think he was totally nuts. I think he was a very reasonable individual who had a lot of wise and good things to say. As for Pontius nailing him to a cross, I don't know what went on there. I really, really don't. The Romans may have felt that he was starting some sort of a movement against them and going against the rule of the Roman oh, what was his name? Pontius. So he was the not the centurion. What was he? Anyway, the dude in charge. A Natziv, but what is it called? Anyway. Subhuman, says Nippo Baby. Me? Yes, I am subhuman. How nice of you to notice. Or if you're talking about someone else, clarify that. Answer me, gosh, says 4L1. I don't know what you said, man, but keep, I see something in the chat and I address it here. It's moving pretty rapidly. There are almost 100 people here right now. Let's go with the poll. 89 votes in. How's your weekend going? 51% of you are saying great. That's lovely. 24 say meh. 19% shove it up your schnoz. And for 7% of you, it sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. I really hope that it will see you, right, that this weekend will turn a favorable countenance upon thee. Hello, no hate, says Elijah. Oh, not Elijah. Ija? Lovern? Okay. Lover? Not sure what that is, but okay. Wondering about your thoughts on past Israeli government support of Hamas as a counterweight to the PLO. So I've said this many times. I believe that part of the conception at the time was if you give Hamas money, be it Qatari money that they are transferring or be it actual Israeli money that they are transferring, if you get Hamas to raise the quality of life of their subjects, right, of the people they are governing, it might cause them to think less about terrorism and more about their own well-being. As long as Hamas and any other Palestinian leadership so far, as long as they are simply adamant about keeping them in poverty and squalor, indoctrinating them with hate, encouraging them to be martyrs for the cause, and them not stealing, right, and the leadership stealing their money, lining their pockets and bank accounts, growing fat in the Qatari hotels they've got. It's like, maybe it was the Israeli government, maybe it was the Israeli government's attempt at raising the quality of life indirectly, right, because they're transferring the money to Hamas. Now, Hamas did not start off as a militant terrorist organization at first. It started off as a social organization within, right, the Palestinian population, an offshoot of the Muslim Brotherhood, yes, but still it had like a social element to it. And over the years, the social element went to the side, as far as I can tell, and the militant wing of Hamas became Hamas de facto. Now, that social element is commendable. They wanted to be there for their people, and that is a commendable thing. That is a good thing. But when the militant terrorist, when the militant and terrorist and bloodthirsty element of Hamas took over, I don't know when that happened or if it was like that from the onset. I think it started off as a social organization for the benefit and welfare of the Palestinians. So the Muslim Brotherhood, that's something as an offshoot of that, right? Ahmed Yassin, and who was it? The Sheikh Ahmed Yassin and one other, I don't remember who founded Hamas. It was indeed something where in their original charter, they certainly set themselves up as Israel will exist and continue to exist until Islam obliterates it. So yes, it was there from the beginning, sure. The terrorist element, the militant element was there from the beginning. Was it that apparent? Was it so much part of the organization? I don't know. But I'm inclined to think that Hamas for the past, I don't know how many years, has thrown that social element of it away and concentrated solely, or like 90-something% on the terrorism and militant element. Right? They didn't give money to their people. They built terror tunnels, and they put their people in the line of fire to maximize civilian casualties, and so on and so forth. It's over for Israel, buddy, says Slick. All right, Slick, if you say so. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niye b'dvaro. Oh, chai. I'm of the opinion that we have only just begun. Livriut hil chazon. Who dis cat? I don't know. Who dis cat? Hi, who dis cat? How do you feel about different cultural groups self-identifying themselves as ancient Jewish people and claiming themselves as their true descendants? I'm not a fan of this true, original, fake nonsense. I think it really is nonsense. I think that if you either are born into the faith or you convert, right? You follow the law of Moses, you keep the covenants, you carry out the commandments, I think you are a Jew. This fake real business, I think it just causes animosity. It's a bunch of tribalism. It's a bunch of othering, in-group, out-group dynamics. I'm not a fan of that, even though maybe it does have its place. I'm not so much of a fan. I think there are enough things differentiating us as it is, and to have an entire group of people, tar them with the same brush and say, those are fake, those are real, you're black, you're white, it's really, a lot of it is really asinine arguments that have little to do with practicalities in the world. That's what I think. Aren't you the lead singer of Lamb of God? No, Ricky, I'm not. I've never listened to Lamb of God. Never. I don't know. I don't even know what genre. I mean, are they death metal? Are they, I think they're metal, right? I don't know what kind. Are you in America? No, Reaper, I'm in Jerusalem even right now as we speak. What do you feel is the fairest outcome for both Israel and Palestine? Hamas says, to de-radicalize both sides and to have real justice for everyone involved. If people committed crimes, bring them to justice. And then hopefully we will be able to make real peace. With real justice, there can be real peace. I'm thinking that's what I was going, that would be the fairest outcome. Right, justice and peace. That would be it. Lamb of God is amazing. Omerta, says Ashton. So no, I'm not against them. I don't think I've ever heard a single song by Lamb of God. AA says, I respectfully disagree with you on some points, but listening to you is always interesting. Hey, I feel the same way, man. I feel the same way. Nobody needs to agree with me. Nobody needs to go with what I say. I'm not a preacher here I'm not at a pulpit here. I'm in my own home, just having discussions with people. Have you been to Greece? No, Israeli rum. I have not been to Greece. I'd like to at some point. It seems like a fine, it's like a fine place to be, but no, I haven't. I agree with that. Actually, all should live in peace over there. God willing, Slick. May it be so. May it be so. May war and bloodshed and terrorism be taken away from all creation, even right now as I am speaking these words. May we have real justice and real peace as a result of that. Where are your striped pajamas, says Neo Baby. I have striped pajamas. I don't think I have striped pajamas. I have star-spangled pajamas. I have other types of pajamas. I have a long sort of nightshirt, light blue. I should wear that next time. So I don't think I have striped pajamas. Maybe there are striped things that I wear as pajamas, but they are not proper pajamas. Okay. Have you lived in the Netherlands? Yes, I have. I lived for 3 years in the Netherlands while my wife was working on her master's at the University of Amsterdam. How do you find God in hard times? How do you find God in hard times? It's an individual thing. I can't tell you how to find God. It's something that you need to find within yourself. I will say that ordinarily, right? There are exceptions to the rule, of course. But ordinarily, I think that we human beings are amazing creatures and we are very resilient and we can take a lot of pain and punishment. If only, right, he who has a why can bear any how, right? I mean, in different iterations of that have been spoken throughout the years by sages and philosophers. If you have the proper why, you can bear any how. Meaning, if you're aiming at the right thing, sure, sometimes life can just be horrible and cut you off at the knees and leave you for dead at the side of the road with a gunshot wound. But many times, you will find you have the ability, and this too shall pass, right? You will have the ability to overcome the darkness. You will have the ability to find the light in the dark, right? Dumbledore, what does he say, right? He says that many times you can, I don't remember, right? If you only remember to turn on the light. So focus on the light side of yourself and of others. Focus on the beauty and the grace and the benevolence that does indeed exist in the world and in creation, inside of you and outside of you. The lens through which you view the world will determine the light or the dark times and finding God within them, right? Don't believe what the sneaky bastard says Zenibo baby. Well, I am a sneaky bastard, I'll give you that. And yes, I agree. Do not believe what I say. This was the subject of a short that I put on, a clip from the last live stream just a day or two ago. Do not believe me. Do your own research. Take everything I say with a big old grain of hummus, because I'm not a learned man or an educated man in any way. I'm not a sage or a teacher or a preacher. Basically, says Josh, it's the adults' table. Hi, Josh. Good to see you again. So you either leave the kids' table and be an adult, or go away because we don't belong at the kids' table anymore. Well, all right. Aren't they all sneaky, brother, says Tyreson. Yes, indeed, we are all sneaky. John says, to someone who knows not really anything about Judaism except a few rules. I'm assuming that's the continuation of something else. That's fresh, says, do you keep Shabbos? Yes, I do. Shabbos ended just about 3 hours ago. Well, just a little less than 3 hours ago. Wow, has it been? Well, it's already been a few hours, huh? Yeah, so yes, I do keep Shabbos. It's the covenant that I've kept most religiously throughout my life. In times when I was less religious or more religious, right? Less observant and more observant, keeping more halacha, keeping less halacha, right? Rabbinic law. Shabbat was always there for me, always. And it's one of the most beautiful and amazing covenants, a covenant that we are meant to remember each and every day because it is where we are headed. It is where we are going, right? My favorite vehicles are trains, says Tyreson. Well, all right. I haven't been on that many trains. Not many. Oh, geez, this guy again. That's right, Colton. I'm on your feet again. What are you gonna do about it? Just swipe away, man. It's all good. It takes exactly a split second. You go, woof, not this guy again. Floop. That's it. You're done. Of course, I probably will be back sooner than later. How do you know what tribe you're from? Or how can you prove what tribe you're from, says Joe Kinsey. I'm from the tribe of Levi traditionally, but I won't say it's 100% an absolute, simply because you can't convert into the tribe of Levi. So it's in continuous tradition for thousands of years. As for how can you prove it? You can't prove it because any genealogy, right, and any family trees could be disputed. So you can't really prove it. And I don't try to. Captain has the grace, the blessing for the Shabbat candle. Why do you guys celebrate the death of 70,000 Iranians? I've never celebrated the death of any Iranians, AFG. Who is celebrating the death of 70,000 Iranians? And how do you group them together as you guys? Okay. Muy Grande says, I haven't celebrated a Hebrew holiday since my grandfather passed in 2017. He was 97. Can you remind me of what Yom Kippur is? Yom Kippur is the holiday of atonements. It's the most sacred day of the year, or at least one of the most sacred days of the year. It's also my favorite holiday. It's a 25-hour fast where there's no food, there's no drink, there's no anointing oneself with oil, no wearing leather, no sexual intercourse or anything that regards or could lead to sexual intercourse, no touching of the spouse, and no anointing yourself with any kind of other perfumes or good things. It's a day of reflection and atonement. During the times of the temple, there were many different sacrifices. The high priest would be the one who would be carrying out 90-something% of everything there that day. He would be up all night, and then at the crack of dawn begin with the first sacrifice, and then go out throughout the day doing the different sacrifices. It is the day, the only day of the year, where only the high priest could enter into the holiest of holies and sacrifice or offer, burn incense on top of the cover of the Ark of the Covenant. And in the second temple, where there was no Ark of the Covenant, it would be on the foundation stone, which was a stone raised from the ground, what was it, about a meter? Or 30 centimeters, something like that. That's where they would put the incense. It's basically a very beautiful and holy and wonderful day. It is a day when the maidens, right, of Israel, the maidens of Jerusalem, would go out dressed in white, and they would dance in the vineyards. They would do this twice. They would do it on Yom Kippur and on the 15th of the month of Av in the summer, coming up soon. And it was a day of unity, right? People would be betrothed on that day. People would choose a mate on that day. It was a very holy day, the most holy day, my favorite holiday. I have had some major psychedelic experiences on Yom Kippurim. No drugs needed, no chemicals needed. It's a day of meditation, right? Of prayer, of fasting, of a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Confession, a lot of confession for individual sins, individual wrongdoings, individual transgressions, times when we miss the mark collectively, and as individuals. There are 5 prayers as opposed to the 4, right? Usually you would have the nighttime prayer, the morning prayer, the afternoon prayer, and the evening prayer. But this time you have an additional prayer called sealing or locking or ne'ilah in Hebrew, which was only then do you add a prayer during the day. Or during the, right, in the book of prayers, you add a prayer, 5 instead of 4 in that 25-hour period. That is the gist of Yom Kippurim, and it's amazing and it's wonderful. Respectfully, says Who Dis Cat, I'm genuinely interested. Do you believe cultural groups carry the curses or blessings of their ancient progenitors? No, I believe the potential is there, but it's ultimately up to the individuals within the culture and the culture at large. The zeitgeist, right? The culture is something that evolves and progresses and shifts throughout time. And I think that even though they carry it, it doesn't necessarily need to be implemented in reality, and it absolutely 100% has to do with their actions, their deeds, their words, and how they behave in the world. So the nature of the culture will determine that. The nature of the people who make up the culture will determine that. Capitalist, says Neo Baby. I'm a little bit of a capitalist, I'm a little bit of a communist, and I'm a little bit of a socialist, depending on the setting that I'm in. I'm either one of those. Imagine the smell, says Cam. I don't need to imagine it. It's right here. Okay. I think lying can be cursed by God for certain problems, says Jean-Pierre. Yes. A line may be, but it still depends on the individual. Right? Don't let your past dictate your future. It's that thing. Don't kick people because you have hate against them, says Chuck Todd, Meet the Press. Don't kick people because you have hate against them. What do you mean? I'm not sure what you're referring to. The blessing and curses, says John, are together. The question is which one activates the 51st gear, basically. What's the 51 or 51st gear? Yakin says, what is the details of hell in your books? There is no hell. There is something akin to purgatory, a place of temporary purgation, purification, and cleansing called Gehinam, but there is no hell in the Hebrew faith. What is the details of hell in your book? The book Pardes Rimonim by Rabbi Moshe Cordovero. He lays out all of the demonic realms. He lays out all of the demonic circles, if you will, the different halls and chambers and those who are in charge of them. So you can look it up if you want, but that's not hell. That's simply the demonic chambers, the demonic, right, the dark side of the forest, if you will, and the place of dwelling therein. And as for Gehinam, you can look up in the different midrash, right? You can look up in the different external teachings of the nature of Gehinam and what it is. presumably, different people will have different opinions. The traditional understanding is that up to 12 months, there is no space and time. In the spiritual, we use these words to convey physical terms, to convey spiritual meanings, up to a cycle, right? Up to 12 months, or is it 11 months? You are sentenced to this kind of Gehinnom, this temporary, right? This purgatory-ish kind of place. And then you are cleansed. Now, different things require different sorts of cleansing. And there are sages who say that a handful of people, 4 kings and 3 laymen, if I'm not mistaken, right, have no share in the world to come. Others say that there are individuals, some say Jesus is among this number, who are stuck in a kind of eternal damnation, even though there is no such thing in the Hebrew faith. A few people certainly arrived at it. I don't think that, but that is one opinion in the Talmud. It's not rabbinic law to think this, but I know that many people would consider that teaching to be pretty fundamental, even if it's not exactly that. Some people do believe that Jesus, because of what spawned, right, because of what he spawned, or what spawned from him, or from his followers, and him being the root of it. But no, there is no hell, there is no eternal damnation, there is Gehinnom, which is a temporary thing. Let's continue. Allahu Akbar, inshallah said. Allahu Akbar. Allah Akram. God is blessed. Have you met a rum? No, I have not met a rum. Nor have I had any rum. Actually, I've never drank that. You only pretend to be kind, says Nebo Baby. Really? How am I pretending to be kind? I don't know if I've said anything kind or to be pretending to be kind, but okay. You are a snake. Yes, I am. I'm definitely a snake. I'm a snake in the grass. APB says, in the Talmud, let there be light. What would you say it is? That's not Talmud. That is Torah, the book of Genesis. But there are 2 types of light, right? There are 2 types of light. There's light which was taken away, and there is light which was in which the world was created. That's what, right? That's why some people say there is the world to come. There is a light that we have not yet attained, right? And that is the light of the fruit of the tree of life, that Edenic Sabbath that never took place. We are still on the way there, as a people, as a humanity, as earthlings, as a global, as creation. We are still on the way to that phase 2. But as for the let there be light, very, very plainly, it was the divine revelation of speech bringing creation into existence. And since we say that there was light, we can say that there was a kind of dark, if you will, which is why famously the Torah starts with the letter Bet, which is the 2nd letter of the alphabet. It's a kind of a, it's a letter that has a tail, if you will, pointing back, right? You have the letter and you have a tail pointing back in order to say there was something before, right? The Aleph before the Bet, the A before the B. What exactly is the Talmud? The Talmud is the oral traditions that were written down and sealed in the 3rd century. It is a commentary on the Mishnah, which was written after the fall of the Second Temple, around the 1st century of the Common Era. It is hundreds of years of debates, of discussions, of dialogue, and it's where rabbinic law, halacha, is primarily derived from. But other than practical implementation of rabbinic law, there's also myth and folklore and legends and different teachings that did not make it into rabbinic law. There are also the views and opinions of the minority that were not made into law, but the opinions are still there. But that is it. That is the oral traditions that were written down, very famously written down, because they were not meant to be written down. It was the result of death and exile and destruction that caused it to be written down, lest it be forgotten. The Mishnah and the Talmud, like the Gemara, there's a Jerusalem Talmud and a Babylonian Talmud, both of them based on the sages in Israel and in Babylon, and the different opinions that went back and forth, the different emissaries carrying news back and forth. They ground their opinions in the Mishnah. They ground, right? The Gemara, the Talmud famously starts with a passage from the Mishnah, right? A verse or a few words, whatever the case may be, a Mishnah, a part of the Mishnah, and then it launches into the discussion in order to bring about the consensus or mainstream opinion of what halacha ought to be, what is rabbinic law. That is what it is. I am just sort of a human, says John Pierre, as am I, sort of a human. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Greater Israel thought, says Pisces Rex, that, I'm not, the borders of Greater Israel were never actually agreed upon, and Greater Israel never did exist de facto in reality in any kind of border. But I think that you need to deal with things that are available when they're available. If it should come to pass that Israel becomes greater by just and peaceful means, by all means, all good. But I'm not a fan of, let's say, war and conquest and bloodshed simply to take over more land, expand the territory. I also don't think that that's where we're going right now, because if that was the case, we would not have disengaged from Gaza. We would not have left Lebanon in 2000. We would not have offered up Gaza, the West Bank, and parts of East Jerusalem as for peace with the Palestinian people. The leadership rejected it, of course, but we did offer that. And did I mention the Sinai? No, and giving back Sinai to the Egyptians to make peace with them. So Greater Israel as an idea, I think of it more as a spiritual idea than a physical idea of certain borders, of taking over certain lands. That promised land thing, if it ever does come to pass, I hope it will be from a place of peace and justice and not from a place of war, bloodshed, and conquest. Those are my initial thoughts. Yo, my name is Andre Dingus. Can you shout me out? Ander Dingus? Well, swag hacker or hacker, or Androdingus. Indeed, shout out to Androdingus. Jewish Warrior Project, Shabbat Shalom. To clarify, you believe that Jesus is the Messiah, but you reject the Trinity? No, I believe Jesus is a dead man, no more, no less. I believe that at the time he was alive, he was a potential Messiah. Whether or not he was crowned king is up for debate. The last king of Judah was Agrippa II, not Jesus of Nazareth. But if you say that he was Messiah and he was anointed and he was crowned, he died. And it doesn't matter if he ascended, resurrected, and ascended later. It makes no difference. He still died. And at that point, his reign ended. He was just like any other king that stood on the throne of the kings of Judah or Israel throughout history. He lived, he reigned, he died. That's it. So I don't believe Jesus is the Messiah. I believe he could have been a potential Messiah, along with many, many others. And I reject the Trinity because, as far as I know, that is kind of a multifaceted God, and we believe in a single, alone, unique, special, individual, indivisible God that is with many revelations, but in essence one. And the Trinity, I think, is not that, though some disagree. Muy Grande says, I'm the one where we build a shelter and blow the ram horn. The ram's horn is blown every first of the month. It's blown during the Festival of Trumpets, and it's blown on Yom Kippur. Sukkot, which is the Festival of Tabernacles, the Festival of Booths, the Festival of the end of the harvest, and the beginning of and hailing, right, the beginning of the winter, or the fall. That is a different one. I'm glad Yom Kippur is upon us. I have lots to confess. Well, Yom Kippur is every single day, right? Every day can be a holiday of atonement. Every day can be a day of confession. Every day can be a day when you make the decision to be better and ideally also back it up with action. Yom Kippur can be every day. Soon I steal Jordan, says Maximus Decimus Meridius. Good to see you again. You steal Jordan? What does that mean? Actual settler final boss. No, Swag, I'm actually not a settler. I wouldn't mind being a legal settler, not an illegal one. I would not mind being a settler in the least, but I'm not one, unfortunately for you, and I'm hardly the final boss of the settlers. Believe me. Tony Soprano was not anti-Semitic. No, I think if Tony Soprano was anti-Semitic, he would not have made the deal with those Haredi people, right? Chuck Todd. Hello there, love you all in the chat. Hey, Mr. Creeps, I'm not. We love you too. I know I'm not in the chat, I'm the one who's rambling, but we love you. That's also very good. Who says, how do you feel about the Zohar? Again, if you're going to study Kabbalah, study kosher Zohar with a kosher master. That's what I'm going to say. I'm always interested that in some traditions, the Creator consulted Torah, right? I mentioned that many times. Secondly, why is God consulting his own eternal wisdom? Because it's made for people, right? This creation is a creation for people and other earthlings and other creations, of course. But we are the image of God. We are potential of being the crown of creation, higher than the earthlings, spiritually speaking, higher than the demons, higher than the angels, higher than the highest of angels. And so that's why. Now, how do I feel about it? I feel that despite the different opinions on its authenticity, was it written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? Was it written by Rabbi Moshe Di Leon? Was it something that somebody pulled out of their butts? You know, they keep adding more to the Zohar. Suddenly there's a Zohar Chadash, right? And there's Zohar Shir HaShirim and Zohar Ruth. People say that you keep adding to the Zohar. At some point, like Theseus' ship, is it still the same Zohar? But my opinion is that if you're going to study it, by all means do it with a kosher Zohar, with a kosher master. What do you think of Nepo Baby with the swastika profile picture? I think that he's just a user on YouTube who's in the chat. That's pretty much it. He has his opinions, and I disagree with him, I suspect, on some fundamental level, but we are all Earthlings, and he's here in the chat, and I appreciate the engagement, be it love or hate. But that's what I think. God made man a little lower than the angels. No, that is not the case according to the Hebrew tradition. It says, "Vatchasrehu me'at me'elohim." Elohim is not the angels, but a true paklist, but not lower than the angels. The angels are lower. It's said that the soul of a human being is from the world of Bri'ah, and the angels are in the world of Yetzirah, which is underneath it. How do you feel about burning of books? Peter says. Not good. I don't think it's good to burn books. I don't think it's good to burn books. Exceptions to the rule may apply in some cases, but by and large, no, I don't think it's good to burn books. Definitely not. Do you think races think as salves? I don't know what that means, Nepo baby. Kind person agreed, also knowledgeable about Torah. No, I have my moments. I wouldn't consider myself knowledgeable. I know what I like. But I don't consider myself knowledgeable. There's an endless amount of Torah. It is a wellspring that never dries up. Who This Cat says, I suppose my question is in those traditions and God consulting something separate from himself, or is Torah in the context of these traditions, or is Torah his eternal wisdom, again in this context? Well, if you're going to say God, it depends on what name you use, right? It says, Kadosh Baruch Hu istakel b'oraita ubara alma, the Holy One, blessed be He. I did not. You can give him a bottle, and the hot water is probably still hot enough if you want to check that out, so you won't have to boil water. So yes, when it says Yistakel be'oraita ubara alma, many times there are certain names that correspond with certain divine elements of the Sfirot. No, I don't. It might be still up there, but there might be a second one. It might be in the sink. It could be in the sink. I think it is in the sink. Look it up. Okay. So yes, Torah and God. So it depends on what name you use, right? Torah, the names of God vary, and they vary according to the emanation, the revelation that is being discussed or that it's pertaining to. Torah corresponds with the name Kadosh Baruch Hu or Kodesh Abrichu, Holy One, blessed be He. The Zohar famously says that all of the Torah is names of the Holy One, blessed be He. Kol ha'oraita shma de Kodesh Abrichu. The entirety of the Torah, all of its thousands and thousands of letters, make up a whole string of unique divine names pertaining to the Holy One, blessed be He. And so it's one thing corresponding to the other. They're part of the same type of revelation in the world. And I think that when it says that the Holy One, blessed be He, consulted the Torah, that it was like a joint effort by that revelation, looking seemingly, right, allegorically, let's say, looking, the divine revelation of sight looked at the Torah and created the world. And it created the world because the Torah is a living, breathing Torah for people who are here in this world. The dead don't keep the Torah. The ones who have not been born don't keep the Torah. The angels and the demons don't keep the Torah. It is us, humanity, here, living, breathing in this world with our shortcomings and our faults and our frailties and our failures. These are the people who have the Torah. These are the people who keep the Torah. These are the people who carry out its commandments. And so I think that's why it's said that God consulted the Torah before creating the world. Serious question, says Swag. Why are you staying in Jerusalem when it's in the Palestinian West Bank? That's kind of settler bruh. Do you know what the West Bank is? It's not Jerusalem. It's really, really not Jerusalem. There is no river of Jordan in Jerusalem. The river of Jordan is, a little bit east of that. But why am I in Jerusalem? It's not Palestinian anything. It's Jerusalem. Creation belongs to the Creator. That is why I'm here. It's a very holy city, and I'm thankful and grateful for every day that I have here. Hello again, says Tommy. Hi, Tommy the Templar. How's it going? Al tira Israel. Do not fear, Israel. Indeed, do not fear. May we be able to overcome our fears. Amen. It's going pretty well, Tommy. How are you doing? How's your weekend coming along? Speaking of which, 200 and something votes in. 48% of you say your weekend's going great. 23% say meh. 22%, shove it up your schnoz. 7% of you still remaining at 7% say that it sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it's better. Really hope it's better. Why don't you believe the superior should expand its border? I don't think that it's superior at all. I don't know what superiority you're talking about. I am not a Jewish supremacist, nor do I think that there should be a Jewish supremacy. So expansion of borders, if you think it has to do with supremacy, by all means think it. I don't think that it necessarily has to do with one with the other. But even if so, even if you think you are superior, doesn't necessarily mean you need to expand your borders. What do you think of Christian values, says American Only YT. Good to see you again, man. I think you've been here before. You need to give me a specific value, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. Christian values is something that's debatable. So you tell me what those Christian values are, and I will tell you what I think of them. Moving Temple says, I think you're confused or lacking some vital information. Yes, that is always the case. It always will be the case. However, I can identify a seeker when I see one. I am interested in understanding you better and know we move toward the light together. Amen. So what is it that you think I'm confused about? And what do you think, what vital information am I lacking? Please do share what you think that is. Free Palestine, says Virat Kohli's fans. I agree. Free Palestine from Hamas, free Palestine from terrorism, from either side of the border, free Palestine from their bloodthirsty, warmongering, oppressive religious regime who rule them with an iron fist, steal their money, piss all over them, and telling them that it's raining. Love thy neighbor as yourself, says Anon Domine. Yes, that is a very good thing. It's not necessarily a Christian value. I think it's a human value. Christianity certainly does push it. Then again, some people say there is no hate like Christian love. How should I memorize the Shema, says YFKFYUCT, by saying it again and again and again and again, at least twice a day, in the morning and in the evening, if you want to memorize it. That is how. Bupper says, what is your background in Jewish education? Do you mean me educating? None. Me being educated? All my life. I grew up religious in Jerusalem. I went to religious schools all my life from kindergarten until high school, and then I went to yeshiva for a few years after the army. Continued studying whenever I could in the army, and then another year and a bit of yeshiva, a year of yeshiva after the army, and then my education was done, meaning that it's not done, it's an ongoing thing. I try to learn I try to learn Torah every day. I try to learn Torah, if not every day, then certainly on Shabbos. I do try and learn something every day, but that is my background in a nutshell. What is your background, Bupper? Bupper Dupper? Yo, shout out Ryan Butlord, please. I'm a big gabagool. What? Gabagooble or gabagool? Hey, Ryan Butlord. Shout out to you, man. Enjoy your weekend. XRP says World Free Speech. Hi, World Free Speech. I did. I shouted it out, man. I shouted it out. You can stop spamming. Ryan Butlord. I'm going to rule the world, says the Austrian painter. Hey, good to see you again. I found it endearing and ironic that you were defending me to someone else in the chat who was trolling. I thought that was really apt, and it means a lot to me that you would do that. Not that I'm asking anyone to do that, but the fact that it happened and you did it of your own accord, I think that's just lovely, and I appreciate the kind sentiment. Do you eat Scooby-Doos? No, I don't eat any doos. Not really. Certainly not Scoobies. That bastard owes me 12 shekel. Does Jewish tradition and mysticism top the word of God? What does that mean? What is the word of God? You tell me what that means, faith of Abraham. Jewish tradition and mysticism top the word of God? There's the word of God that is a word, a revelation of speech, or a written revelation, if you will. But then there is halacha, made by people for people, inspired by divine revelation, of course, but eventually it's up to the Sanhedrin, it's up to the sages, the people of the Great Assembly, and the wise people of the time who made the call on what rabbinic law ought to be. Now, once again, we are stuck in survival mode, halachically speaking, which is a lot detrimental, but it was necessary because of the exile. Everyone wants to ban me, says the Austrian painter. Well, not here, man. You will not be banned here. Hey, תמיד נחמד לראות ישראלי בלייב ביוטיוב. אכן, שבוע טוב. שבוע טוב, I love cats and owls. Is that a Harry Potter thing? Ken, it's always nice to see an Israeli live on YouTube, on my YouTube, he says. It's nice to be seen. Shavua tov umevorach. Allah is the one true God. Yes, inshallah, I agree. The Austrian painter says, people from other channels are trying to get me banned from commenting. Really? That sucks. Can't think of why, unless you are actively saying things that are against the guidelines of YouTube. I suspect you might be, but I don't know. I really don't. If praying is your power, who are you without it? Well, praying is a power, but you can definitely be someone and something without prayer. I mean, why wouldn't you be able to? Let's say that you don't pray, but you carry out good deeds. You live humbly and righteously, and you walk before God without prayer. Is it possible? Yes. I don't know if many do that, but you are many things without prayer, I think. It's one of the greatest connections any creation can have with its creator, granted, but I don't think that it necessarily, I don't think those things are exclusive, right? Do you agree with love your enemies? Yes, to a point. Only to a point. Love your enemies to a point, and when that point is crossed, then don't. Don't. It's been just over an hour. I will say thank you. I'm not done yet. Just a quick aside to say thank you to those watching now, those watching later. So much fun to live stream with you live and raw, unscripted, unedited, unfiltered from Jerusalem. It's so much. It's so sustaining, it's so encouraging, it's so enlivening. So I'll give you the regular spiel. I thank you for your time and your kind and gentle attention, the love and the subs and the views and the likes and the haters and the trolls and the spammers, the ones who tell me to shave, the ones who tell me to shower, the ones who tell me to kill myself, the ones who say I have things growing in my hair. It's all good, it's all lovely, it's all wonderful, and I'm happy to be here for it. If I don't get to you in the chat, mea culpa, my apologies, my mistake. It's not intentional, I'm not ignoring you. Leave a comment. I address every single comment that is addressed to me and that YouTube notifies me of. And if you want to hit me up in the DMs, Hebrew Nazarite across the board, X, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, look for my tree. I'm there. I don't post there much, but I'm there for the DMs. If you want to have a one-on-one when I have the time, I love it. Let's continue. Company branding should work well. A lot can go with Aleph. Plus, from a patent perspective, should be safe. It's a Hebrew letter. The Jewish lawyers can have a field day if other companies want to be stupid. What are you referring to, Josh? Are you having a conversation that's entirely separate from what's going on, or are you referring to someone else in the chat? I really don't know. Pardon me. Hey, Ryan Butlord is here. Good to see you, man. You've been having a shout out, huh? Okay, I mean, from here, people wanting me to shout you out. If praying helps you go to heaven, does heaven belong to the praying or the man? I think heaven belongs to the people who arrive at its gates. And again, it's only a waiting room. It's not the final destination. It's not the final destination. Cat says, do the Sfirot describe God? No, the Sfirot are divine revelation, attributes of the divine, the clothing in which the divine reveals him, her, itself in the world, in the very same way that I'm wearing this purple shirt, but you wouldn't say this purple shirt is me. And yet it is how I am revealed right now to you in the digital projection through zeros and ones, right? The pixels are showing you a dude with glasses and a beard and a cup of tea and a purple t-shirt. And still you wouldn't say that this is me, and yet the clothes make the man, right? In some ways. So they hide one thing and they reveal another, right? They hide my physical skin, but they reveal the fact that I'm wearing a purple t-shirt. And from a person's clothing, you could extrapolate and you could make assumptions and you can presume certain things in the very same way that the words coming out of my mouth can cause you to think certain things or come to certain conclusions, whatever the case may be. The way that the way that I wear my hair or the glasses or what I'm drinking, these are not things that are me, but they reveal me and hide me at the same time. In the very same way, the 10 Sefirot reveal God in the world, but they are not anything of God. Eliyahu Navi, Elijah the prophet, famously says, you know, but not from knowledge. You are wise, but not from wisdom. You understand, but not from understanding. Oh, a super chat came in. Hey, JPE, with a super chat. If there's only one God, why does Psalm say ye are gods? What is the Hebrew or esoteric meaning of this? Right. Elohim atem uvnei alyon kulchem, achen ke'adam temutun uchachad hasarim tipolu. The very continuation of the verse says that we will fall like any one of the princes, right? That we are just mortal men. But we do have the capacity for being divine in our actions, in our deeds, in our thoughts, in the way that we comport ourselves in the world. How is it that we behave? We have the ability to be divine. We have the ability to manifest in fullness the image of God, the unique image of God in which each and every one of us is created. You all have your own purpose in this world, each and every one of you. I have mine, you have yours. The gift to give to the world, as David Data says in The Way of the Superior Man. When the psalm says Elohim atem, it can mean a few different things. Elohim pertains to a few different divine revelations, usually more on the left side, on the side of the divine feminine presence. It can be either the great mother or the lower daughter. Elohim is also used in reference to princes and lords and judges. So it depends. It depends how you take it. But that's basically what it means. Hang on a second. Did another one come in and I missed it? Hold on a moment. No, it was just that. Okay, cool. I'm reminding you people, all of the money you give to this channel in super chat, super thanks, and ad watching and all that, 100% of it goes to charity. In April, I didn't get the payment yet, but as soon as I get it, you will see it in the post, in the community tab. 1,600 shekel, which is over 500 US dollars. I will also have a poll or something going on where do you think it should be going this month. You know, I won't necessarily, I mean, I'll take your input into consideration. Right now, it seems a few people said that I should give half to an organization like I did before, and half I should just give out to people on the street in Jerusalem. So I won't be able to provide receipts for the 50% if I do indeed go down that road. I won't be able to provide any receipts. I'm not planning on documenting it or filming it or photographing it in any way, so you won't have physical proof of me giving that money to homeless people on the streets of Jerusalem. But for the 50%, if I do go the other way, that way, the other 50%, I will have a receipt, just like I did with previous payments. But 100% of what this channel, of what you good people raise, is for charity. Once again, I say, if some brand deal or sponsorship comes my way, I'll take 100% of that and give a tithe and keep the 90%, but 100% of the YouTube related things, right? The ad watching and the super chat and the super thanks and the other super whatever it is, the supers and the ads, 100% goes to charity. And if you don't believe me, by all means, take a look at the post history. This channel and the good people in this channel raised a crap load of money for charity in the last few months. You look like you've been at sea for years, Pirate says. Indeed, me hearty, I have been landlubbing now, but I used to be a seafarer. Let's continue. Do you like Yisrael Fleischer? He seems to be a Jewish supremacist. I don't know who Yisrael Fleischer is, so I don't know if I like him or not. If he's a Jewish supremacist, he's probably not my cup of tea. Scurvy dog. Yes, indeed, I am a scurvy dog. Question, says Adam. Hey, Adam. Some time ago in the stream, you were talking about the failure of kibbutzes and how human dynamics don't function after around a certain number. Please, can you expound upon? So this is based not on my research or understanding, because I'm not an academic or researcher of any kind. This is based on people who are professors of economy, who I've heard, I don't remember the name, unfortunately, or names, of people who agree that up to about 200 people, communism is sustainable. And once you get that past that number, it's not sustainable of each from his ability to each according to his needs, right? That's the line, that's the maxim. After a while, that breaks down because you immediately, after a certain number, create a kind of hierarchy where you'll have people on the higher end, people on the lower end, and the dispersion of wealth, if you will become perverted accordingly. Is that necessarily bad? No, but it means that at some point, economically speaking, it is not viable. On a smaller scale it is, on a larger scale it isn't. Which is why I said, when someone asked about this in the chat right now, about an hour ago, I said I'm a communist and a socialist and a capitalist. Or they didn't ask, they said capitalist in the comments, in the chat. And I said, yes, I think I'm all three, depending on the scenario. So that's sort of what I meant. But for more information on that, really look into the different professors or lecturers of economy on why communism failed and continues to fail, and what happens when it starts to grow, and what actually happens, the details of what happens with humanity. But that's what I meant. AJ or IJ says, how was it that the Palestinian and Jews coexisted peacefully for hundreds of years in Palestine? It was only until the Zionists arrived that the bloodshed began. Let's put it this way. The Jews, first of all, were there, as you said, in Palestine for hundreds of years, thousands of years, likely, because there was a continuous and unbroken Jewish presence in the Holy Land for all this time. Now, when the Zionists arrived, the bloodshed began. First of all, let's consider that if you're talking just about Muslims, or you're talking about Christians as well, that makes a big difference. There's been tons of bloodshed all the time in the Holy Land. So you got to give me, what time frame are you talking about, really? But let's say hundreds of years. I don't know how much they coexisted peacefully, but let's say that they did for all intents and purposes. I think that once the first of all, in the middle of the 19th century, when modern day Zionism reared its head, it was still not a problem. All throughout the 19th century, it was still not a major problem, right? in the beginning of the 20th century, immigrants were still welcomed by certain individuals or communities or families, right, of Muslim people, of Muslim Arabs here in Israel. It wasn't called Israel, it was called the Holy Land, or we called it Israel. The world did not call it Israel. Palestine, they called it, right, based on the Romans. And when the Zionists arrived, the bloodshed began. I think that then the arrival of the Zionists started to become a thorn in the sides of not the people, but the leadership. Notice how it was always the leadership that was pushing towards extremes. It was not necessarily the people, though, of course, individual people have always been extreme in some cases, and so they would do things of their own accord. But it was the leadership, much like today. I do believe that it's the Palestinian leadership and not necessarily the people. Now, that may be stupid and naive, but I want to believe that there are innocent people living among us and outside of us here in Gaza and the West Bank and so on, Judea and Samaria, who do want peace, who do want to live side by side with justice, right, and peace with their Hebrew brothers and sisters. It was only when the Zionists arrived, I think that when they saw that people are moving in en masse, at first they didn't care. Not really. There were some riots at the end of the 19th century. There were riots in Hebron and in Tzfat and in Akko, I think, or Yafo as well, in the beginning of the 20th century. So things did happen before the establishment of the State of Israel. And you were right to say, not the establishment of the State of Israel, but the Zionist arrival. I think that's because they saw that the Zionists were actually investing in the land and drying up the different bogs and swamps and building infrastructure and bringing more people in as a result of that. That is also, by the way, what brought a lot of Arab immigrants from the surrounding areas to the land of Israel, right? When they saw that the Zionists were starting to actually build up something and it wasn't a wasteland like it was up until then, and I'm making a broad generalization, then they felt the need to defend it. Up until then, there was no need to defend it because they didn't see it as a threat. They perceived it as a threat, and more so than physical, an ideological and religious threat. Even though the early Zionists, modern day Zionists, were socialist and secular, they still saw it as something that goes not hand in hand with what they consider to be the fate or the behavior that is part of being of the Jewish people, of the Hebrew people, the people of the book. I think that's that. I hope I addressed it somewhat, but let me know. What is your view of the Holocaust? Well, depending on how much it costs, and if it is indeed a proper hollow, then I'll be able to tell you. What is your view of Godric's hollow? That's the real question. Let's continue. I mean no offense, says NPC. I've always wanted to ask a Jewish person, why have they basically always ended up persecuted from all types of people and places? Why people always attack Jewish peoples? It can be, people will find any reason to hate Jews. Now, some people say it can't be that it's based on absolutely nothing. No, it's probably based with it probably has a very strong religious, ideological, extremist underpinning, even though people try and dress it up with coherent arguments. But Jews have always been persecuted. I've said this many times, from many different places. They were expelled from different towns and villages, counties, and entire countries at times. And it was, either they're too religious or not religious enough. They integrate too much. They don't integrate enough. They're too rich. They're too poor. They're at the top echelons of leadership, or they are the subversive and rebellious element. Or it's like whatever it is, people will find reasons to hate Jews. Does this all go back to the fact that people call us Christ killers? Maybe. But people in the West and in the East have hated Jews throughout history. There have been many times, sometimes when there was coexistence to it, like my man over there was asking about the hundreds of years before the arrival of modern-day Zionism. But that's basically why, because people hate Jews and they will find reasons to hate Jews. And it takes, in some regions, in some cultures, in some faiths, it takes almost nothing to ignite that fire of hatred. A tiny spark can ignite a great forest fire of hatred towards the Jews. Trying to avoid my question nowadays. Do you support? I'm not avoiding questions, man. I think I was pretty clear about that. Don't put words in my mouth and don't put thoughts in my head or beliefs in my heart. Okay. Settlers in the West Bank, by the way, context, they violent. Not all of them are violent. I'm against the illegal settlements in the West Bank. I am for the legal settlements in the West Bank. That's what it is. It was the West Bank of the Jordan. They lost it in 1967 in a war that they were a part of, that they started, right? So that was a declaration. There was a declaration of war. Now, the Israeli Air Force got the upper hand by having a preemptive strike. But it was what, 3-4 armies involved in that one? The 6-Day War of 1967. So the illegal settlements, I don't support. The legal settlements, I do support. It's that. Oh, and I don't support the ones that were illegal and were then retroactively kind of made legal. I don't support that either. I think that is something, I don't have such a broad view or understanding of the matter, but just at face value, right? Just plainly, it seems not ethical, not too moral to have an illegal settlement and then you pass the law to make it legal. I don't see that as something that's beneficial. Now, maybe it's only because I don't know the intricacies of the law and the details involved, and I don't. But it just seems to me on the surface to be something not cool. Is Trump a Jew? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he has Jews in his family, but he is not Jewish. I don't think so. For real, says XDD. What is for real? Which missile of Iran you like most? I don't know, Telecom to Cloud. I actually haven't looked into the different names, so I don't know which one I like the most. And this is one of the sane ones. Look at him talk and look at his thoughts. Total disgusting. Yes, XDD, I am indeed disgusting. Please tell me, what is it about my thoughts? What is it about what I'm talking about that is disgusting to you? We can have it out, right? It doesn't need to stay on that level. We can actually, you can explain to me, and maybe the feelings of disgust will always be stirred, will also be stirred up within me. And then we can have some sort of a common ground here on how exactly I am disgusting. Do you mean only sort of verbally and conceptually, intellectually, or how is it? How is it that you mean it? Okay. Who does Cat says in reference to my earlier question, so when the creator is contemplating Torah before creation, is this self-contemplation? Again, the idea, God does not contemplate. There is a revelation of contemplation. God has no mind or intellect with which to contemplate. The organ that does the contemplation, our imagination, all of that is something that God does not possess. So you must think of it in terms of the creator and the creation, a dividing line between them, and everything that we can perceive, right? The guiding principle is if you can perceive it or talk of it or feel it or see it or hear it, you can get it with any kind of your senses, if you can address it or relate to it in any sort of way, physically, metaphysically, allegorically, practically, spiritually, it's already not God, revelations of God. That's the guiding principle here. So if you're talking about self-contemplation, it's the divine revelation, right? Having it out with itself, because there are different facets of divine revelation. Very famously, the Torah begins with the word Elohim, the name Elohim. Only later does the tetragrammaton of Yod He Vav He join Adonai Elohim. And that is because there were different elements of divine revelation coming into creation, where initially it was Elohim, which is judgment, which is, let's say, the left hand, right? The hand that is pushing away, the hand that withholds, if you will. And then it's Adonai Elohim, which is the center, the pillar, the center pillar that has to do with grace and benevolence and mercy in the sense of harmony and beauty and a middle path. So that kind of contemplation. Thanks for giving me your time. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, Hoodiscat. Let's continue. This guy is cool as fuck. I'm actually interested in the God chats. Thanks, Malcolm. I appreciate it. I am also interested in the God chats. Who do you think is the best football player of all times? Well, if you mean American football, I have no idea. If you mean soccer, European football, oh wow. Oof. I mean, look, I'm inclined to think that nowadays, of all time, I have no idea. I mean, look, Messi and Ronaldo do some amazing things, truly amazing things. Lamine Yamal has some amazing speed and dribbling as well, but I don't know who. I haven't watched enough football. I'm not too much into the sports. I'll watch a good game if it's on. I enjoy the World Cup or the UEFA, right, the Europe Cup, but I'm not, I don't have a fan. I don't follow sports. I dig those who do. I just don't do it. So I don't know who the best football player of all time is. I really don't. What is delaying you from Allah, Jewish brother? Final book came, says Sid Life. Okay, I haven't looked into it. When there is peace, when there is justice, I will look into the Quran. I will look into the teachings of the Prophet. I will look into the Hadith. I will see what's what. And who knows? Maybe I'll be Muslim, though I doubt it. But never say never. European football, yes. Chosen people going to hell. Well, I don't consider us chosen, and nor is there a Jewish hell. So that's 0 for 2. SS go for YI. You want to go for a third? Maybe you might hit the jackpot. Question: what do you know of the exilarchy of Persia? Nothing. I'm not even sure what that term means. What is exilarchy? I'm ignorant. Please define the term for me. Comedy Mothership. Hey, I'm a fan. What is your, of comedy that is, and of motherships for that matter, what is your take on the controversial plan to add LSD to the water supply in Baltimore? That LSD should be taken when you know what you're doing. Set and setting are paramount. Education and harm reduction are paramount, certainly with something as potent as lysergic acid diethylamide. So no, do not add it to the water supply anywhere, because people beginning to trip without them knowing about it. The CIA did that, okay? I don't think they had good results in MK Ultra with the LSD experiments, but I have no idea. Baltimore, I don't know. Do you think Baltimore, that's in Maryland, right? Do you think Baltimore needs, you think that they think they need LSD in their water? A little bit of LSD? What's Zionism, says Orfeo? It is the idea that the people of Zion belong in the land of Zion. Not only, not exclusively, right? Other people can belong there too, but the people of Zion to the land of Zion. That is Zionism. Josh says, I'm not joking. You basically are not basically nuked because of strong Russian culture that translated into Putin, masculine stability. You literally could have been nuked. I'm not joking. I'm not sure what he's talking about, people. Is he referencing something else in the chat? Because I don't get what you're saying, Josh. Why did Netanyahu allow Qatar to send money? So I already addressed this today and a few days ago, or maybe yesterday before Shabbos. Basically, I think the conception was if you elevate the quality of life of the Palestinian people, they will abandon their ways of bloodshed and terrorism and extremist religious views. It didn't work. I think the government was under the misconception that that could happen. I think that's basically why they allowed Qatar to send money to Hamas. How do you support IDF killing children? I don't support them killing children. I support them killing Hamas. And Israel openly celebrating bombing on Palestine civilians. Israel does not openly celebrate bombing. Individuals do, for sure. I don't. So I don't know where you're getting this stuff from, XDD, but give me some sources on all of Israel celebrating Palestinian civilians dying. Please give me that. As for support of the IDF, I support the IDF because even though there are individual soldiers and maybe in the past some doctrines that were not cool, that is not how the IDF is operating. The IDF is one of the most moral armies in the world. I won't say the most moral, because what's that? Of course, it has its share of faults and frailties and shortcomings. But how can I support the IDF? Because it's the Israeli Defense Forces. We are fighting a defensive war. That's what this is. You can disagree. You can say I'm full of shit. You can say it's a genocide. You can yell and scream and kick and cry all you want. Civilians should not be dying, right? Combatants should be dying. You know why they're dying? Because of Hamas. Hamas uses them as human shields, uses them as cannon fodder. Hamas puts their munitions depots and headquarters and training facilities and mosques and hospitals and schools and homes, and then cries victim and uses it for the propaganda for the Western useful idiots and the Eastern useful idiots for that matter. Where'd my super chat go, says Kay. I don't know. I think YouTube, I didn't see any super chat come in. Maybe YouTube, maybe it was something against the guidelines and YouTube just cut it off. If they did cut it off, I hope you get your money back. You're so funny, says XDD. Thanks, man. I try. Not too much. Thanks for representing me today. You're doing a good job. Thanks, the devil. You are an inspiration, the devil, the adversary, my lord. You're doing really, really well. And for all the people who say that I worship the devil, here. Let's should we do this now, devil? I mean, you know, it's you and me, right? Okay, let's just okay, yes. Me and the devil have a thing going on. And I am representing him today. I'm doing a bang-up job. Remember October 7th, don't talk to me about Israel being ruthless. Yes, I agree, Gregory. Of course, there were people who will say it was an inside job, and then there was a stand-down order. People will say all kinds of things in order to justify their hatred and their anti-Jewish, anti-Israeli sentiment. You tell good jokes. Thanks, XDD. I do tell good jokes. Sometimes they come to me. Sometimes I tell them, scripted and ones that I've rehearsed. Not here, of course. You guys killed Christ. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. People will find ways to say that Jews need to be eliminated, even if Christ died, thousands of years ago. Who cares? You killed Christ. You right here that I'm looking at on the phone. You! Bro said IDF is moral army while agree they kill children. I agree that Hamas puts children in the line of fire. And in war, maybe you're not aware of this, in war people die. That's what happens. And maybe innocent people wouldn't die if Hamas wouldn't put them in the line of fire. So the blood is not on the hands of the Israeli soldiers. The blood is on the hands of the Hamas terrorists and the people who support them, and the people who elected them, and the people who, because of indoctrination, still cheer them on in Gaza and in the West Bank and all around the world. A proscribed terrorist organization is being cheered for and celebrated, and they are the winners. They are the freedom fighters. They are on the right side of history, and I am with them. Yay, terrorism! Yes, the IDF is a moral army, which I can say because I've served in the IDF for many years. Are there IDF soldiers who commit crimes? Yes. Are there IDF soldiers who commit atrocities? Yes, they should be brought to justice and put on trial and have justice be done upon them. Obviously, that's obvious to me. I'm not excusing what anybody with a uniform does and saying, oh no, they're fine, you can do whatever, they're wearing a uniform, that's great. Not in the least, not at all. But I'm telling you, as somebody who has served in some hot areas and less hot areas over the years, that yes, the IDF is a moral army. I'm not standing down from that. It has immoral elements in it, sure. Different individuals who behave immorally. Maybe at some point there were doctrines that were immoral as well, and I think that the IDF is taking great strides and great pains in order to rid itself of the doctrines that are no longer moral and no longer ethical. But you're not going to be able, if you actually truly look at the numbers, if you actually look at the history, you will not convince me of, you will not convince me otherwise. Do you want children not to die? Tell your Hamas freedom fighter buddies and the rest of the terrorist organizations to lay down their arms and stop murdering civilians, stop attacking Israel, acknowledge Israel exists, have real justice done upon both sides, de-radicalize both sides, and then we can have peace. Hamas does not want that. Hamas wants to grow rich for Hamas's sake. They want to keep them refugees for another billion years. They want to keep them in squalor and poverty and scraping and barely surviving, because then they can indoctrinate them and say, oh, it's the Zionist pig, ape, dogs, conquerors, boo! And the people eat that up. The people eat it up, because why wouldn't they? Because they say it's the Israelis, they say it's the Jews, they say it's the Zionists. That's what's keeping you in this squalor. But no, it's Hamas who steal their money and use it for munitions and for tunnels and for other people, paying off other people, paying off families of terrorists and of suicide bombers. So yeah. Harry says, I would agree that the Hamas are evil, but the Taliban put munitions depots on the hospitals and in schools, and the Western allies didn't bomb their hospitals or schools. Okay, so the Western allies didn't do it. You're still allowed to do it. Should you do it? Shouldn't you do it? Far be it from me to say. I'm going to say that if your enemy that is right next to you, close to you, firing rockets in each and every day, right? Civilian targets, military targets, they don't care. They're terrorists. They don't uphold any law. Their only law is the Quran. Their only law is the law of Allah. Their only law is that they are a death cult who revel in death. That's what they want. That's literally all that they truly want. Death for others and life for the higher-ups of Hamas. And they will gladly sacrifice every last man, woman, and child here and in Gaza for that cause. They want to get rich. That's it. Would the world be safer and peaceful if we had no religions? Somewhat, maybe, but no, human beings love war, and we would find other reasons to fight amongst ourselves. We would find other ideologies that will possess us. We would find other reasons to battle each other, hate each other, and be tribal, and do the in-group, out-group thing, and other each other, until a point, right? And hopefully at some point we will be able to embrace our shared humanity, transcend our differences, and truly be able to be one, right? One unified human race. Okay. Let's continue. Scrolling down. Who wants to get rich? The Hamas leadership. That's a given. They're all millionaires. You're not allowed to bomb hospitals or schools. It's a war crime. False. It's a war crime if it's still a hospital or a school. Granted. Once the enemy puts their munitions or training facilities or personnel in those places, they cease to be they cease to be shielded, and they are targets like any other military target. So like I said, you've got a problem with schools and hospitals, mosques and homes being bombed. You have a problem with children dying. So do I. Talk to your Hamas buddies. Talk to the Fatah, talk to Hezbollah, talk to the Al-Aqsa Brigade, talk to the other piece of shit terrorist organizations that stop at nothing in order to martyr every single one of those people, mistreat them, and like I said, to piss on them and tell them, oh, it's just rain. That's what it is. You avoid the question of the Goyim? No, Ethan, I'm not avoiding anything. This is the first I'm seeing your username in this chat. People, if you think I'm avoiding and ignoring, please don't. That's an asinine way to think. There are over 70 people over here right now, and the chat sometimes moves fairly rapidly. I can't see each and everything that comes in, incidentally, so I'm not ignoring anybody. I don't mind having a difficult question slung at me, truly. People who frequent this channel know this. If I don't get to you in the chat, leave a comment. I would love to address it. I do address every single comment that is addressed to me. But speaking of avoiding the question, which is bullshit, let's address the question, shall we? There is no explanation that can cover your own back, no explanation that your people can come out as victim. I don't know what you're saying. Read Revelations. I have read Revelations and it meant absolutely nothing to me. Literally nothing. I enjoyed the gospel, but that's it. I didn't enjoy the Acts, nor the letters, nor Revelation, nor any other part of the New Testament. So, I don't know what the question about the Goyim was. I know people use the Goyim, the word Goyim pejoratively. I don't. Goyim means nations. That's all that it is. People will tell you in the chat if they haven't yet. I am not a Jewish supremacist. I am not a racist. I am not a bigot. He's actually very nice. He is just lost, says Sid Life. I agree, but I love the people who come here and say that I'm lost. I love it, right? I truly do love it, as if they have the direction for everybody. Okay. These people are gay, says I'm not that guy. Oh, I agree. We are all gay. Each and every one of us is very happy. Speaking of which, let's go to the poll. 323 votes in, 49%, still holding at almost 50% who are saying you're having a great weekend, and that's awesome. 22% say shove it up your schnoz. Meh, 20% of you, 1/5 of you are having a meh weekend. I hope it looks up. And 8%, going up from 7, 8% of you saying your weekend sucks. I hope that it looks up. I really, really do hope you have a better weekend. Boom, boom, Tel Aviv, says Gussie Goro. Still here, huh? That's awesome. Good guy says you're a weirdo. Correction. I'm a bearded weirdo, or beardo if you're into the brevity thing. An infrastructure is what you find under roads and streets of your city. Well, by infrastructure, I don't necessarily mean, right? I mean having a thriving society. I'm talking about giving money that was given to the people, not to take it for yourself, but to actually give it to the people. I'm talking about having it be a place that humanity can grow and thrive and not merely survive in. The people of Gaza are stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Between their terrorist regime and between the IDF. And all of the innocent people there are going through hell generation after generation because their Palestinian leadership will say no to any peace agreement, because their Palestinian leadership steals their aid money, because their Palestinian leadership is a terrorist organization that wants them all to be killed for the cause. That's literally the only thing that they want. They will sacrifice each and every one of those civilians for the great cause of taking over and having this place once again be ruled by Islam. That is what they want. It's in their charter. Don't agree with terrorist countries like Israel, says I'm not that guy. Okay, feel free not to agree. I don't agree that Israel is a terrorist country, but by all means, feel free to think it. No one believe you, says XDD. I'm not asking for anyone to believe me. Do not believe me. Do your own research. You'll be able to see that what I'm saying is 100% factually correct, historically correct, many times documented, because I don't excuse the bad things that Israel does. I don't excuse the negative things that the IDF does. I don't excuse it when innocent people are dying. That's the nature of war. That's not an excuse. That's a situation. Israel has done everything it could to minimize civilian casualties, including dropping leaflets, phone calls, text messages, humanitarian zones, letting in humanitarian aid, calling off strikes because civilians were in the vicinity. So many times. Roof knocking, right? I mean, there's so many different... Read up on it. Don't take my word for it. Read up on it. Are we the most moral army? No. Are we the army that has done likely the most to minimize civilian casualties in such an urban warfare setting? Yes. And you can ask any war expert, if you will, they will give you the same answer that the combatant to non-combatant ratio, it is somewhat disputed on how you do the ratio and whose numbers you go by and so on. And the fact that it's a very dense urban warfare as opposed to other types of warfare. So it's subjective. The way that you look at it can matter. But relatively, pretty objectively, as objective as can be, Israel is doing the most it can. 100% of the time, no. There are certain circumstances where people are killed, innocent people, men, women, and children. And I say that is on Hamas's hands, not the hands of the soldiers of the IDF. And in the same breath, simultaneously, I say that those individual soldiers in the IDF, the soldiers or commanders, whoever they are, people in politics, if they did indeed carry out war crimes, atrocities, crimes against humanity, by all means, they should be brought before trial and put to justice and have justice be done upon them. There won't be real peace without real justice. Whether that real justice manifests with Israel finally having it and conquering the region, or whether it's just love and embracing and acceptance of one another, I don't know how it will come about. I really don't. But justice and peace are paramount. And I believe that when we are able to de-radicalize both sides of this conflict, we will be able to pave the way for justice and peace. Real justice is deleting Israel. See, once again, someone says, no, Israel has no right to exist. These millions of people here have no right to exist anywhere, and they should all be slaughtered. So fine, congratulations, you're a bigot. Mazel tov, you're a racist and a genocidal, and someone with genocidal tendencies. So good luck with your hate-filled existence, XDD. I hope it does you a lot of good. Really? Why you don't believe in Jesus? Simple answer, no hate to you, Martin Joseph. Because I believe he is a dead man, and we do not follow the dead, we follow the living. That's it. I believe he could have been Messiah, he could have been king, he could have been a sage, a prophet, all of that until he died, and when he died, that's it. And even if he was resurrected and ascended, we do not follow him as a leader nowadays. A peaceful solution, bro, says Sid Life. God willing, may it be a peaceful solution. Israel have done everything it could to minimize damage of civilian while throwing white... Oh, you know what? Here, this is one of the things that I disagree with. This is one of the things that I disagree with. The white phosphorus, that is true. If indeed Israel did use white phosphorus, and I'm thinking recently they did, I don't recall where. I don't know why they did that. I'm not in the cabinet, right? I'm not in the war council. I'm not in the parliament. Even in my time in the army, I was a very lowly soldier. So I was never an officer. I was never a ranking person of any kind, right? I was just a field medic. So white phosphorus, I think you need to take it on a case-by-case basis. But by and large, yes, that does go against at least a few conventions, if I'm not mistaken. And maybe Israel should not be using white phosphorus. That much is correct. That, I think, is something that Israel is doing, that if it is wrong, I will say, yes, that is wrong. Show it to me. And I will stand there beside you and say, hey, IDF, don't use white phosphorus. That's not okay. That's not cool. That's not the way to fight a war. Find another way. But that's easy for me to say right here as a civilian who doesn't know the ins and outs of the circumstances and the scenario and what's going on. I would have had to be there on the ground in order to make that call. But basically, I'll agree with you. I'll say, yes, you're right. Times when you use white phosphorus, basically is not okay and should not be used, and there's a reason why they banned it. On the other hand, they also banned 5.56 millimeter bullets, right? And we use those. A lot of countries use those, and 7.63s as well. Although, are 7.63s banned? I don't recall. But okay. Did you go AWOL? Nope. I served in mandatory service and in reserve service until I was 38. Discharged a few years ago. Where can we find non-biased information, says Gav? I don't know. Any information you get is already with some sort of an agenda. Any information you get is edited. And any information you get is propaganda of some kind. So I don't know where you can get non-biased information. I really don't. We each have our own view, and we each have our own way of looking at the world, and what we do take into consideration, what we don't take into consideration. So it really does, I don't know where you can receive non-biased information. Look into it. Let me know. Leave a comment if you find a source like that. I really don't know. I understand that by the time, whatever source it is, by the time it reaches my eyes and my ears, it's already some kind of propaganda, some kind of edited, something with an agenda, something meant to engineer the way that I think, so I will act a certain way eventually. So I take it with a grain of salt. Are you against Palestinians or their government? I'm against the government. I'm against the leadership. I'm not against Palestinians at large. Didn't the IDF hold a right to rape protest in support of IDF soldiers? So no, the IDF as an army is not allowed to have a protest. That's against the IDF code, against the IDF law. You are not allowed to protest when you're in uniform because you are a soldier of the people. You are not allowed to protest, to have like a political protest. I think maybe it changed. In my day, you were not allowed to protest in uniform, at least when you were in active duty. Who were charged with raping Palestinians. Stop avoiding the question. I'm not avoiding. Stop telling me to avoid questions when I'm not avoiding any questions. My God, it's so mind-boggling how these people can think, sure, there are 80 people in the chat right now, but he's avoiding me. Don't be self-centered. And I'm saying this, right? The guy who's right now blah, blah, blahing live on camera. Don't be self-centered. Don't assume that I'm ignoring a question. If you had a bit of sense, or if you've looked for 5 minutes into my channel, you will see that I don't avoid a hard question. I don't avoid a debate, even though I'm not a debater. I don't avoid being fact-checked or challenged or pushed back against, not in the least. So it's really self-centered of you, Kid C, to think that I'm avoiding your question or ignoring you intentionally. So the IDF did not hold a protest. I think civilians held a protest. I don't think it was the right to rape. I don't think anybody says that that's a good thing. If there was such a thing, an IDF protest in support of the IDF's right to rape, please, in the comments or in the chat, and then leave a comment because I may not see it. Please show me, give me actual sources on a protest that was, yes, we want to be allowed to rape people as methods of, of interrogation or torture or subjugation. When was this? Where was this? I think what you mean is that there may have been soldiers that were being accused of such things, and there were civilians protesting and saying, let them be, they didn't do anything like that. Let them go. It's all a bunch of nonsense. That maybe I can conceive of how that, but an IDF protest, there's no such thing. The IDF has no protests. It's a military. It's not allowed to protest. How hell will welcome you in the judgment day? Thanks, Modarg. I really don't care what you think because I don't believe there's a hell. So Jews don't have hell. So cool. You promised to read the Quran. I will hold you accountable on Judgment Day, says Sid Life. Yes, when there is peace and justice in the region, I will definitely open up the Quran. The reason why I don't open up the Quran is because I don't want my view of the sacred text of Islam to be warped or twisted by war, bloodshed, and terrorism, which my mind has been affected by. I have grown up in Israel all my life. I lived in Israel pretty much all my life. I've seen some shit, and I would not want my ideas of Islam to be swayed by my experiences and my subjective views. All I've seen of Islam, 90-something% of what I've seen is bloodshed and terrorism. So if you want me to read the Quran with that in mind, that that's what Islam is in this region, by all means, but I'm not going to do it because I would want to approach Islam from a cleaner, more objective, purer line of thinking, way of thinking. Do you see what I mean? As for Judgment Day, I really don't care. We will all be held accountable on whatever Judgment Day you think it is. It's not going to be just me. But okay. Whatever you say, man. Sid Life says, Salud. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Wait, the live chat. It jumped. Hang on a second. Another super chat came in. Oh, from him as well. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's continue. Scrolling down. Okay. I'm really sorry that you were born into such cultism and had to see bloodshed from such a young age. I can clearly see your damage, and I will pray Allah to guide you. Yes, of course, we are all post-traumatic here. Everybody in the region is post-traumatic and currently being traumatized. Everybody being born into this bloodshed and conflict and state of emergency constantly. It's not a way to live. It is not a way to live for generations. The things that Israel has normalized are awful, awful to live in a continual war, what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, a state of war and emergency. So yes, I will obviously openly very say I have been damaged. And what I would want to do is in time, through justice and peace, be able to be less damaged and be able to find Well, to be at peace in the sense that there will be peace, and wouldn't that be good? And I remember, I've said this many times, I remember when the Oslo Accords were being cooked up, and there was this energy in the air, there was this liveliness and hope in Israel for a better future, and that had not existed up until then or since. It went to hell very quickly. Within a few months, the Oslo Accords went to the crapper. But for a few months, for a few blessed and truly wonderful months, there was this idea of, oh my God, we can actually have an agreement between us and the Palestinian leadership. Wouldn't that be awesome? Does it come at a price? Yes. Are we willing to pay it? Yes. Will it be worth it? Yes. Didn't happen. Did not happen. It was awful. But Jerusalem in the 90s, between all the buses exploding and the knifings and people getting run over, and it was very, very difficult and continues to be difficult to be an Israeli, a person here in Israel. A lot of bloodshed and terrorism and death. And I really vividly remember those months when the Oslo Accords with Arafat, it was such a hopeful time. And it went to hell so quickly, so very quickly, and in such an awful, awful way. Okay, let's continue. Adam says, question, do you or any friends or family know of the cyclical resets that occur, one of which was the flood of Noah? I think that the cyclic nature of creation is something that is always ongoing. Right? We right now are in a cycle of 7,000 years. That is one of 7, right? 7 times 7. There's that whole thing, and then a jubilee of the 50,000th year, and again, that might be one of 7 as well. Okay, so there's that whole thing. As for the resets, do you or any of your family know of it? What do you mean know of it? I know that there have been different times in the world where most of the species on Earth were eradicated, right, and become extinct. Right? We had things like the Ice Age. We had things like we had a few different ages. I think it was 6 or 7 different times when nearly all life on the planet was just erased. I think it happened like 6 or 7 times, maybe 5, like a few times. It wasn't just the flood. So no, I don't know. I don't know of the resets as far as what you might consider a reset. I know that one does happen every now and then. So yeah, the only Jew I respect is Howard from The Big Bang Theory. Well, July Towers, you are aware that it's a fictional character, right? Hey, Gan Eden is here. How you doing? Gav says, what does the U.S. gain out of sending all that money to Israel when all they do is buy U.S. weapons with it? What do Americans gain from that? What strategic advantage does it hold? Do you know? I don't know. I'm simply saying that, first of all, like you said, 70 or 80% of it goes right back to the U.S. Second of all, there are American interests that are being furthered in the Middle East by the State of Israel. There are Israeli interests being furthered by the United States of America. One hand washes the other. You scratch my back, I'll piss on yours. No, you know what I'm saying. For those who are fans of the Golden Shower. So what do Americans gain? I don't know if Americans in America gain it or America as a country and a republic gain it. There's a difference, which is why I'm also of the opinion that, yes, it should be America first. If you're in America, of course it should be America first. I don't see how that can even be contested in any sort of way. Are you Jewish, says Yassir Hussein. Na'am, ana Yahud. Yahudi. What is it? Yes, ana Ibri. I am a Hebrew. Let's continue. Allah, sorry, the chat has jumped. Allah doesn't approve their ways, bro, said Sid Life. Okay, please read the Quran. I will read the Quran once again when there is justice and peace in the region. Israel and American interests are incompatible. Really, Gussie Goro? So by that rationale, we've had many generations of, or at least many decades, of allyship and partnership between Israel and the states. Why? Why? Because there's some Jewish cabal pulling the strings? Because of AIPAC? Why on earth would the world's leading superpower give a crap about this tiny sliver of land in the Middle East the size of the state of New Jersey? And what's more, give them aid money and they give money over there, and there's an exchange of industry and information and technology and intelligence. What is it? You don't think that they're compatible? What are you talking about? How are they incompatible? I'd love to know. I'm genuinely asking. I think you are mistaken. if only because we see the U.S. administration, under any administration, still have some sort of ties with Israel. They can be weaker, they can be stronger, but the ties were never severed. So really, where are you getting that from? How are they incompatible? I'd love to know. Let's continue. Don't piss on my back and tell me it's raining. Precisely, Tarnimo, that's what I'm saying. Okay. Moving Temple says, can you talk about the schism between the Orthodox and Zionists within Judaism? So there are many Orthodox Zionist Jews. I was one of them. I don't consider myself Orthodox anymore. It's my root. It's my home. I still do plenty of Orthodox things. I just don't put the label on me. So I am one Orthodox Zionist Jew. As for the Orthodox who are against Zionism, the schism is that there are two ways of thinking of the state of Israel and of the diaspora, the exile, right? Some people go with the Song of Songs in the external traditions, what's known as the Three Oaths, which basically says, don't start anything before you get a clear-cut sign. Don't go back. Don't awaken the love until you get the signal, right? Don't put the moves on someone if they're not giving you the go-ahead, right? There needs to be consent. The other side is the dry bones, which is no. It's the physical establishment, right? The physical body that comes together. Only then is the spirit poured on top of it. In the very same way, some people say, no, you need to wait for a clear-cut sign, an angelic messenger, a messiah, a prophet, to tell you, yes, now go back to the land of your forefathers. And then, on the other hand, people say, no, you make the move to the physical land, and then the spiritual essence will be poured on top of it. But you need to build up a physical infrastructure to facilitate that spiritual part of it. In the very same way, we have famously two messiahs, one of son of Joseph, representing the physical, one of son of David, representing the spiritual. There are a few other kings, two other kings. I know that Yirah Ha'ari says there are 4 of them, but at any rate, I don't know much about the other 2. So that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that that some people say the schism is because does the spiritual come first or does the physical come first? That is where it breaks down. Those Orthodox people who are anti-Zionist and anti-modern day state of Israel are saying that it goes against the word of God, that we should be waiting, and only after we get a clear-cut sign, only after we get instructed to do so should we make the move. Until then, any kingdom, any establishment, any government that rules here in the state of Israel that is Jewish goes actually against the word of God and should be eradicated as a heretic state, as a transgressor state, as an illegal state, halachically speaking. That's the schism. Islam tzadek legabe Yahud, says Akil. Islam is right about the Jews. Yes, it's right that we were the people of the book. I know that Quran says that. But what does Islam say about the Yahud? Please tell me, I'm curious. I know for a fact, says XDD, that you're the oppressor and not suppressed one. And looking at you being so traumatized because of the violence, I can only imagine the pain of the people who actually suffered. See, you seeming to think that I have never suffered is highly presumptuous and wrong. Second of all, you know that for a fact? Please, pray tell, what are these facts, these indisputable facts, right? That I am the oppressor and not suppressed. Really? You don't find the fact that Israel is attacked again and again and again, even before the state of Israel was a thing? You don't find that maybe that we were persecuted, and you don't find any of that? I mean, people here in the Holy Land, forget in Europe, forget the Arab nations after 1948. I'm talking about the time here in the Holy Land. What are you talking about? Now, I will grant this. I am a Jew in Jerusalem, in the state of Israel. I am the majority, right? And so, yes, I've lived as the minority 3 years in the Netherlands. And I'm not going to say it's the same thing, obviously not. But until then and since then, I've never been the minority anywhere. And so I have had this majority privilege, if you will. But to say that I didn't suffer is bullshit. And to say that I'm the oppressor and not suppressed is also bullshit. Sorry, man. I'm not going to play this game with you of victim, victimizer, oppressed and oppressor, a predator and all right, sorry, it just glitched. Are we good? Yeah, we're good. So I'm not going to play this game with you. Really, I'm not going to do it. Let's continue. Perpetual victimhood of the Chosenites. Poor you. Well, I don't think we're chosen, so to hell with that. As for perpetual victimhood, oh really? It's victimhood to say that we were attacked again and again? It's actual documented history. It's victimhood to say that we were persecuted throughout many generations. Again, documented history. It's victimhood to say that we have enemies inside and outside of us that don't recognize us as being worthy of living in the country of our ancestors, in the land of our mothers and fathers. This is not victimhood. This is reality. You just want to put a straw man and say, oh, they're just perpetual victims in order to knock down the argument, because you have no actual ways of countering that argument. It's physically, practically documented throughout history. And you may say, oh, but it's the Jews' fault. Good. Congratulations. All that does is make you a hater of Jews. There are many of them. I'm not going to try and change your mind. I'm not here to alter anyone's views or opinions. I'm not here to debate anyone. As for poor you, yes, poor everyone who is born into this situation, no matter what they call themselves, no matter what skin color they have, no matter what side of the political aisle they are on. Poor us, indeed. But what are you going to do about it? Are you going to get up and dust yourself off and try and lead a good and righteous and humble life? Or are you going to be blaming other people for your problems while you do nothing about it and thinking that you are on the right side of history? Or better yet, support terrorist organizations who call themselves freedom fighters who... Let's continue. The Jews stole it from Canaan. No, outrageous atheist. The Jews occupied the land of the seven nations. Joshua, in the book of Joshua, and the Israelite army took over and genocided the seven nations here. And that's what happened there. Of course, there were others who they left because they were not commanded to genocide them. Others, they were commanded to genocide, so they did not steal it from the Canaans. They waged war for 13 or 14 years, a long war of conquest, and they conquered it. This may hurt your soul or your heart or your mind, I don't know, but you are aware of the fact that wars are an ongoing thing in history, and that there were wars of conquest, and every single country that has ever existed was occupied at one point or another by others, and that tribalism exists, and in-group, out-group dynamics exist, right? And different biases exist. You know, these things happen, you know, human dynamics. So it's not stolen. It was taken over by force with the might of the army and the Ark of the Covenant. Why do you believe that the descendants, Jacob says, of people who aren't actually descendants of the original inhabitants have a right to land that was owned by people who are when you adopted the religion? Well, first of all, I think most of the Jews are not converts. Many people disagree with me. I think most of the people who are calling themselves Jews these days are not the product of conversion, but of actually being part of the remnants of the kingdom of Judah, right? The tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, parts of Levi. So, but let's grant that and say that we are all converts. What gives us a right? Because we attach ourselves to the covenant of the Torah, which is inextricably connected to the land of Israel. And we are part of Israel when we convert, which makes that our home. The fact that my mother and father did not live there, so what? They were not Jewish either if I'm a convert, and yet I still attach myself to this root of the Hebrew faith, which includes the faith, the Torah, the land, the people. Is it something that you should die on, like a hill you should die on? Some say yes and some say no. Is it a right? It's a right in the sense that if you believe that the Jewish people lived here and that that person who converted is now Jewish and that this is the Jewish homeland, when they left their pagan ways and had forsaken their pagan gods and attached themselves to the tribes of Israel, they can attach themselves to the home of the tribes. Does that mean that you should kick everybody out? No. But it means that they definitely do have some sort of a claim. If you attach yourself to a covenant, if you attach yourself to a people, you can also go to the land in which those people live and thrive, and that makes sense to me. You can argue, no, you can't just show up with, en masse and say, this belongs to me now, but that's not what happened in 1948. That's not what happened with Zionism. There were Jews here present the entire time in an unbroken chain. Were there converts? Yes, the majority of the people were Jewish for many, many, many generations, be it in Europe or in the Muslim, right, Arab countries. But even if the case is converts, I think that the original inhabitants should be here, and Jews and converts to Judaism should also be here. I hope that we will be able to live in peace. I hope we will be able to live in peace. And see, I'm mixing up my words here, which means signals to my brain that I'm getting tired and I need to go. So I'm and just about 2 hours, so a good time to say goodbye. We won this argument, says Sid Life, but it's not, nobody's winning or losing here. We are having a discussion. I don't consider myself a winner. I consider myself somebody who is here to talk to people. See, this is exactly the kind of bullshit I'm talking about. People here spouting off, thinking that they won an argument. By all means, you are the winners. Oh, congratulations, you won. You won against some bearded weirdo on the internet who, according to you, has no idea what he's talking about. So congratulations, you won an argument against a complete ignoramus. I applaud you. 447 votes. 49% of you say your weekend's going great. 23% say shove it up your schnoz. 8% is it? Say it sucks, and 20% say meh. Okay, people, this has been such a good time. Indeed. I cherish this. I love it. If I didn't get to you in the chat, please leave a comment or hit me up in the DMs. Hebrew Nazarite across the board on the different prominent socials. Look for my tree. And I wish us all a wonderful new week. Be blessed. Be a blessing. Be the light in other people's lives and other people's live streams. And God willing, may it be a bountiful, wonderful weekend and new week to all of us. Soon it will be the weekly Torah portion of Nassau, which is Nazarite Awareness Week. That will be the week after the coming week. So look out for that. It's going to be heavy. And that weekend, in 2 weeks from now, is going to be the holiday of Shavuot, of Pentecost. The giving of the Torah, the ascending to Sinai. A lot of exciting things going to be going on in the channel. And by exciting, I mean for me, because it's the Hebrew Nazarite channel, and I always love talking about the Nazarite ship. Oh, yeah, the Nazarite ship. Okay, so be blessed, be a blessing. Peace and love from Jerusalem. L'chaim. And boop. Goodbye.